Hi ladies, it's me. I know it's been a long time. It feels like forever since I made a video on here. I guess you guys can tell from I think my last two videos I showed I actually I went into labor at 5 months, and well, it's a long story, and I'm gonna eventually break it up into, I'm sure, 2 or 3 parts on here and talk about it. But just a brief overview. I'll go into the details and talk about labor and everything like that. But just to talk, just briefly, to give you an update without making this so long for everyone. I was on bed rest. I had quadruplets. One of my bags had ruptured. Right before we found out the sexes of our babies, one of my bags had ruptured. So, and the baby was completely collapsed in the sac. You know, we couldn't tell the gender or anything like that. And we found out the other two babies. I had a set of identical twins, and then I had 2 other babies in their own sacs, one of them being the baby that was collapsed. So I had a set of identical twin girls, and their names were Alabama Scarlett, which she was my oldest, and then Honey Lavelle, which was her twin sister. Honey was my heaviest baby, and she was 3.6 ounces when she was born. 3.6 ounces, not pounds. Alabama was my longest. And then I had a son, and his name was Carlos James Edward. And we did not know the gender of the baby that had collapsed, and so we decided to name that baby Boston, like a gender-neutral name. Reasons behind the names: my husband's family is from the South. His mother on that side from Alabama, hence the name Alabama. Her name is Alabama Scarlett. And then Honey, her sister, Honey Lavelle. Honey is my grandmother's name, and Lavelle is my husband's mom's middle name. And then my family is from Boston on my mom's side, so that came with the baby Boston. And then Carlos James Edward, that's actually my brother, my dad, his dad, and my husband's second dad. Those are all his names. And what's funny about it is we had a completely other name for our son, and but when he came out, he looked exactly like, I have an older brother, he looked exactly like my older brother, which I thought was just so crazy. I hope I don't cry. Oh my gosh, ew. Which I thought was just crazy, so I decided to name him Carlos. Anyway, so back to, sorry, going off on track on the names. So that one baby had collapsed. I was on bed rest. And then on July 6th, I had this huge gush of fluid, was rushed to the hospital. All my baby's bags had ruptured. There was no fluid. And I basically had the choice to try to hold the pregnancy for a couple more weeks, which risked infection with me and infection with them, which I could lose them, and I could mess up my lady parts so that I wouldn't be able to have any more children. Or the smartest thing, which we decided, which our doctors advised as well, was to go ahead and deliver them, and praying for a miracle that they would survive, but more than likely knowing that they weren't. They were just too small. So we induced labor on Sunday the 7th, and I was in labor for 30 hours, and I was in labor for 30 hours. I had no epidural, no nothing for 28 of those hours because I'm stupid, and I thought, no, I don't want an epidural, I'm scared. But that's a whole nother video going into labor. I was just taking Tylenol. That's all I was taking. And then finally I got an epidural, and literally I sat back on the bed like after I just got the epidural. It took 45 minutes for them to like do it because it wouldn't go, and I sat back on the bed, and my doctor came in like literally 2 minutes after I just got adjusted and said, "Oh my gosh, it's time to push." And I gave birth to them vaginally. I did not have a C-section. It's clearly a push. And one by one, they came out, and my placenta did not come out. And so I had to have a D&C afterwards. So I was rushed right after. I had a D&C, which I was completely awake for because I had an epidural, which is a complete nightmare. It's just an awful thing to remember, and they were kept asking me, "We can give you medicine so you can't remember," which freaked me out because I'm like, how are you gonna mess with my memory? Like, how am I not gonna remember? But anyways, no, but I didn't, and yeah, I had all my babies. None of them survived. They were beautiful, and my girls looked exactly like my husband, which to this day just blows my mind. They had my mouth, but they looked exactly like my husband, especially Honey. Honey and Alabama, they were identical, but they just looked different. I know it was because it was early in their developmental stages. Honey was the most developed, and it's crazy. Like, I look at my husband, and you think, people are married, you think, oh, I love my husband, and how can I possibly love him anymore? Like, like me, how me and my husband we're just completely obsessed with each other, and I never thought I could love him anymore. Like, it's not possible, and it's just this complete other level. When I look at him, I just see my girls, and it's such a beautiful thing. And it's been 2 months since I've given birth. My body's still slightly adjusting. Sorry, I'm saying so much. I'm just trying to remember everything and not take forever on this video, and I don't know if it's going to cut out or but it's been 2 months. We had a funeral a week and a half after they were born. I left the hospital the next day after giving birth. I had no complications, like, with myself. I mean, I had a couple trips to the emergency room just for anxiety issues afterwards, and my anemia was really, really bad. I'm anemic to begin with. Like, my iron level, it's supposed to be at a 12 for a normal person. Mine, when I went into the hospital, was like at a 7.8. When I left, it was like at a 6.8. So they wanted to do like transfusions and all these things, and now it's back up to like a 10, which I've never had it this high. And so we've been doing the grieving process, and we actually moved. We left our place before because it was it was too big for us, because we were planning on, having kids. And then also the memories coming out of the hospital was the hardest thing. Leaving my kids there was the hardest thing. Coming home, and everywhere I went in my house, last time I was there, I had them with me. So it was just too hard. So we actually moved, which helped because it kept us busy. My husband he was off from when I went into the hospital, like July 6th to September 10th. He got off work for he had like a family leave, like a paid family leave thing, which I'm so thankful for because we had time to grieve together. Every week we saw a counselor, like a psychiatrist, whom I absolutely love. He's helped me so much, and that's where I'm at. I'm a lot better than I was. I'm still nowhere near where I need to be. I'm going to be doing more videos talking more about my kids, more about their birth, more about the emotional and all the things I'm feeling and dealing with, and not just to talk about it, but praying that in hopes that this video will reach somebody who's going through the same thing and needs help, whatever, because it's hard. It's extremely hard. For those of you who have children, for those of you who are trying to have children, whatever the case is, to have to bury your children, you think you've gone through stuff. That's the most hardest thing I've ever had to go through my entire life. And I'll get into all that later, but I just wanted to update everybody and thank you so much for all the comments and love and prayers. We feel them, and I love you ladies so much. I literally can't say that enough. I love and appreciate you all so much, and just thank you for being there, and I'll continue to update you. Thanks.